Good evening and welcome to another episode in our series Technique Talk here on the Technique Lab YouTube channel. I'm your host, Coach David Riley, and I'll be happy to share with you on this our daily review of the performances at the World Athletics Championships over there in Budapest, Hungary. And indeed, we have been enjoying the 5 days so far, and we're looking to just some of the things that happen on the track in the competition, and just talk about some of those things that nobody else wants to talk about. That's what we do here on Technique Talk. So we're happy that you've joined us. Clearly you're looking for a different kind of discussion and conversation than what's happening elsewhere. So we really appreciate that you join us. Make sure you share the link for others to join so that they too can get some of what we're talking about here on Technique Talk. But it was a good day for us over there in Hungary, and indeed we are happy for the kind of performances and the quality of the performances that we're seeing from Jamaicans. Of course, you know, everything seemed to have increased in terms of the performances in so many of the events. But we are holding our own, and indeed Jamaica is looking like a track and field nation. It's not just sprints, but we notice that there is a broadening, a maturing, I like to describe it, of the performances of our track and field program. So we're seeing our athletes showing up in so many events, and they're not just there. They're very competitive, and yesterday we made tribute to the coaches who've been really just championing the cause and developing the talents and the skills, and we are extremely happy for the kind of coaches that we have in Jamaica, the level of commitment, the study that goes into it, the effort, definitely the best set of coaches in the world. And the athletes have been living the dream, and they've been following the instructions, and the benefits and the results are there to show. And we're really happy for what's going on over there in Hungary. We still have 3 medals, but of course the hunt continues. It's not just about the medals, it's also about the points table. And once the athletes go there and do their best, their season's best or personal best, we can't ask for anything more. And we saw that from Roshawn yesterday, a national record. We didn't mention that. We mentioned it was a national junior record, a world junior record. We didn't mention that it was actually also a national record, beating Winthrop Graham's record. I remember that race, actually, with Winthrop Graham. I remember watching that race with Winthrop Graham and Kevin Young. So that was a very good performance there by the youngster, and we are happy for his performance and what he has done. But of course, the World Championships has been an interesting event, and lots of things have been happening there. The performances, the changes that they've made, and one of the things that we just noticed some of the things that are happening and the modifications that they're doing to the event to make it more exciting. Watching the athletes coming all the way on the golf cart, those things are adding a little bit of a spin to the championship. We've seen behind the scenes, a lot more persons are seen behind the scenes, and seeing the intensity and the athletes and all of that. You're living it as well with them. So it's been a good experience, and we're happy for the quality of the television coverage. So, we had the 200 meters today, quite a bit of 200 meters heats. The women 200 meters, those heats went off, and, of course, going through to the next round, we have Shericka qualifying in the women's 800, women's 200, I should say. So Shericka Jackson, 22.51. Kevona went through, and Natalia White went through. Of course, Jamaica had 4 representatives in that event, but Ashanti Moore didn't make it through. So we have 3 going through to the semifinals. On the men's side, we had only 2 athletes entered. Those were Andrew Hudson, who ran 20.25 to qualify for the next round, and Rashid Dwar ran 20.40. And of course, this is an event where Jamaica holds the world record in the 200. But we seem to be struggling a bit in the 200. And of course, the question is, what's really going on? We have sub 10 speed in the 100 meters on the men's side. We have a sub 11 speed on the women's side, 100 meters, more than lots of other places. I mean, maybe just the US would have the depth at 100 that we have. And then we look to 400, and we have quite a bit of athletes doing very well. Our 400 meter athletes are very good, very strong, but we're just not seeing the same level of strength at the 200, and that's something interesting to note. And so, actually, want us to talk about that, and I've asked a few of my colleague coaches for their opinion on what's going on with the 200. And so I want us to just check in with a couple of them and hear what they had to say. So let's take our first.
I mean, I'm not even so sure that I understand the reason behind it. I think, maybe from a coaching standpoint, where majority of our coaches either are able to properly coach the 100-meter level or the 400-meter level, and probably feels that probably the same program can have suited to a 200-meter runner, when actually the 200 is really a specific event with specific requirements. 200 has often been seen as probably the stepchild of sprinting, with the purebred events being the 100 and the 400. The 200 is always, and most times, thought of as a afterthought type of event. But I pretty much think that there's not much glamour to the event, from a coach's standpoint and an athlete's standpoint. And I believe that once athletes see the glamour of the event, will always have subpar performances for the most part. The truth is that if you look at even the 100 meters for both the women and the world champs, the persons winning the top 2 on the male side and the top 2 on the women's side are all very good 200 meter runners. But that's how they train for the event. I suspect it may be, for the most part, probably except for Noah Lyles, most persons probably train for the 100 and a little bit more, as opposed to your training for the 200. But I can't speak to every situation. I suspect that just globally, there's not much glamour placed on the event, as the fastest man or woman is normally labeled as the person who wins the 100, and the quarter mile is really a standalone event. The 200 is just somewhere in between, and sometimes get neglected and ignored because it just does not carry the same glamour to most persons as it should.
So, Coach Corey Bennett there, national coach and coach of Hydale High and Calabar High, and he actually is proposing that it's because there's not enough glamour in the event, and it's probably a coaching issue as well, that coaches are not necessarily coaching the event the same way. And that is an interesting concept as we look at this idea, why are we not doing as well in the 200? So that's an interesting take there by Coach Bennett. Let's hear what another one of our colleagues had to say about that.
I think the problem is our top sprinters specialized only in the 100 meters. If you look at the national trials, not one of the top three athletes run the 200. Let us take a look at the World Championship, the 1, 2, 3 on the podium in the 100 meter. They are all running the 200 meters.
All right, so Coach Neil Harrison there, he is a little different of a spin there. So maybe our top sprinters aren't as interested in the 200. That's something that we have to look at as well. And when you look at what's happening in terms of the people who are beating us in the 200, in the 100, the top three all actually did the 200 or doing the 200. Carey is doing the 200. And then Noelaz is very strong with 200. Zandrion is also very strong with 200. So when you look at this, that's an interesting spin there from Coach Neil Harrison. So let's take another comment here from former athlete. I think he's retired now. Clive Fullen.
You know, I think it's probably a variety of things. I think right now, with the upsurge of, the 400-meter runners that we do have, those that were great 200-meter runners are now focused solely on sprinting, so to speak. And so, there was something I observed, even in the women's 100-meter final, with Shericka losing to Carey, third time this season. What I did realize and conclusion I made was that, it seems to me that, for example, someone like Shericka Jackson, who wasn't a great starter in the past, who now has improved tremendously in her start, I think her speed endurance has suffered. I think with her start getting so good, it took away from her top end and her finish. For a 200-meter specialist, I really don't think that we should be getting run down in 100 meters. That's just my opinion, though. But across the board, I think men and women, it's either we're solely sprinters, meaning solely 100 meters, or it seems to me that we're just the 400 and the 400-meter hurdles. And so I think it's a speed endurance type of thing that we're lacking as a unit, as individuals. We either do very well in the sprint in the 100, or we just, we're clearly lacking speed endurance on all fronts, in my opinion. And so I think that's the biggest issue that I'm seeing, and possibly is why the 200 meters.
All right, so Clive Fullen there from Fullen Performance Center. He's been doing Performance Academy. So he's been doing some interesting things there. So, of course, he's suggesting that we've been focusing too much on speed and not developing the speed endurance, which is required for this particular event. I mean, and maybe this is something that it's because of a coaching focus that actually has led to an athlete focus. That's something that we need to look at. So we have very good 100-meter people, and then you have very good 400-meter people. You don't have any persons in the middle doing a half lap. That's something to be concerned about. Let's take one other comment, and this one is from the national 200-meter record holder. Let's hear it.
I think that one of the reasons why the Jamaican athletes are not performing as well in the 200 meter for men is because once one of these athletes find out that they're competing well or doing well in the 100 meter, they tend to try and stick to the 100 meter other than trying to run or compete in the 200 and see where they can perform as well in that event.
All right, so Demar Francis there, national 400 meter indoor record holder. Actually, it's a 200 meter indoor record holder, not 400 meter indoor record holder. 200 meters. So he is suggesting that it is because once the athletes have made the team in the 100 meters, they no longer want to run the 200. And that seems to be a practice because lots of athletes withdrew from the 200 meters after they saw the results, after they obtained the results, the favorable results in the 100 meters. And that, of course, means that persons are not really pursuing the double. Even some of the athletes who did do so well in the 100 meters based on what they were hoping to, maybe an individual spot, some just didn't bother to turn up for the 200. So clearly there's a difference in terms of a focus for 200 and an effort for 200 that is not helping us. We have to put some different effort into the 200, recognizing, as Coach Corey Bennett mentioned, it's a different event. It requires a different kind of approach to coaching and also in terms of execution. We know the 100 meters is flat out speed, all right? You run the max effort there. We know the 400 meters cannot be max. So 200 meters is somewhere in between, and a lot of athletes seem to not know how to run the 200. And we have to really make some effort there and see what we can get done. But we have to solve this 200 meter problem so that we have full representation in the 200, not just a token representation or one athlete or two athletes, but to have a full complement of athletes in the event so that we can push for medals. So let's keep the conversation going and see what we can get done as we try and improve our performance in the 200 meters. A half lap, one where we have the world record on the men's side, and one would argue the world record on the female side. But we won't get into that today, or we won't get to any at all. So one of the interesting things, a friend of mine mentioned to me, sent me a message today, asking me if I've noticed that Jamaica has become a technical powerhouse. The technical events, we have been so visible and so competitive in the technical events that it seemed to have gone unnoticed by many. Well, it hasn't really gone unnoticed. Jamaicans have an affinity for speed and sprinting, and if you don't win a medal in 100 meters, then hold our heads and whatever. But in fact, as I mentioned at the start of the show, we have been maturing as a nation in terms of our performance in track and field. It's not just track, it's not just sprints. It is track and field, and we have demonstrated a whole heap of, I would say, competence in this area. And in fact, it has been, it's evident to all those who are looking on that in fact we're doing something very special. And it is in fact something special. Today we had, for the first time in the history of the World Championships, we had a female in the hammer throw. The hammer throw is arguably the most technical, well, it is the most technical throwing event. The only question is whether it's the most technical event there is. But the hammer is so specialized and requires so much skill and practice that it is the least participated event in Jamaica. In fact, there are no competitions outside of the national championships where the hammer is thrown. The pole vault, maybe the next, after it, but at least the pole vault event is done, maybe the decathlon is next in line because the decathlon is only done twice, I think. Well, not twice. Once normally, and that's at Boys and Girls Champs, and then now we've added it to the national championships, even though it wasn't staged in 2023. But when you look at this particular event and how difficult it is, and not just the interest of the athletes, but also the technical know-how of the coaches to do that kind of development, that is, for us to have an athlete in the event this year, speaks to this movement towards the technical events, and we're doing exceptionally well. When you look at it, the triple jump for men, you had Jaydon Hibbert. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to demonstrate the level of skill that he has, but everybody knows. I think even the medalists know that they were just really, it was just their day. Because Jaydon had been doing some performances leading up to the finals, including in the preliminary round, that was just beyond what they could achieve. And even with the winner, still didn't get to that level in terms of the performance. But Jaydon Hibbert in the triple jump, men, then triple jump women, you have two athletes, Kimberly Williams, and of course, so having memory loss here. But anyway, we have two women, Shanieka Ricketts. How could I forget Shanieka Ricketts? So Shanieka Ricketts and Kimberly Williams, both on both male and female side, a very technical event, hop, step, and jump. We have full representation in the case of our athletes, they're not just there, they are competitive. They're in the money for the medals. You go to the long jump women, of course Ackelia Smith was in the finals. There was the world lead, or came into the championship as the world leader. Unfortunately, run-up issues, officiating issues, one would argue, led to her not really delivering based on the potential that she showed. But Ackelia is very young. 2 years ago, Ackelia was at the World Under 20 Championships, earning her medals there. So she's very young, lots of years ahead of her, and we are expecting her to continue this level of performance going forward. It's not just her, but Hicklin and Porta and all the others who are there, supporting and striving for the level. On the male side, it's very good. Pinnock with Carey, McLeod, and it's been an incredible show of depth in terms of these events. 3 guys into the finals: Tajay, Gayle, 2019 world champion, 8.69 meters. I was sitting right there when it happened. I mean, amazing. Qualified as the 12th qualifier, last to get in, and then in the finals end up winning. Huge performance. But when you look at it, it's the presence of the Jamaicans is so strong that you can't help but interpret it to be that Jamaica is becoming a powerhouse in this area. High jump continue to be something that we don't do so well at, but our athletes are there. We're in the high jump men, have high jump women coming up. High jump women was actually, so high jump women, high jump men, we have jumpers, discus, we had Dacres and Traves Smickle in the finals. Dacres, a medalist in the past. It's very interesting what's happening in the field events, the technical events. When we go on the track, with the hurdles. Goodness gracious. The hurdles, and then it's not just at these World Championships. When you look at the quality of the performances prior to, Jamaica has so many of those records, age group records in the sprint hurdles and the 4 hurdles, just really doing so well. Roshawn Clark, world record holder in the under 20. Very strong performances. These events are technical, and Jamaica definitely has made a huge statement to the global community that in fact we are strong and we know how to do these events, and we're earning medals in these events. So it's been a very good show for Jamaica. This foray into the technical events, Jamaica can walk away being very proud of the foundation that has been laid and the direction in which the track and field program is going. Because in fact, when we can't get the sprint medals, how are we going to stay in double-digit medals at these championships? By what we do elsewhere. And so for us to do it elsewhere, we must have the athletes and the foundation to get it done. And that's exactly what we are seeing from Team Jamaica. It's also very interesting as we look forward to tomorrow. Very interesting things happen today. And during the 1500 meter men, very exciting race. Inga Britton, after failing to, I shouldn't say failing, because he was beaten, yes. But in fact, Josh Carr beating him in the 1500 meters, the commentator made a statement that favorites don't always win. You know, it's amazing. They did win tonight. Favorites don't always win, but that's what's happening in terms of how these events are unfolding. There's no medal with your name or with an athlete's name written on it. You have to go there and earn that medal. And if you're not prepared to do it, and we talked yesterday about the mental preparation needed to be able to deliver those medals, if you're not doing that, you are going to be in for huge disappointments. So as we look to tomorrow and the rest of the activities for the championships, but let's take on tomorrow in particular. Tomorrow's morning session, of course, we've not been doing much in the race walk category, so I suspect that everybody was sleeping at that time. But we come to the long jump men's finals, that's tomorrow, and then of course the 200 meters semi-final for women and the 200 meters semi-finals for men. The 800 meters semi-finals for men, we don't have any body there, of course. Navaski didn't make it through, but the 100 meter hurdles finals will see 2 Jamaicans. Daniel Williams will be running out of lane 2, and Akira Nugent will be running out of lane 8. That should be an interesting finals. Hopefully we can get some medals there. Akira, of course, is very young, her first senior team. Daniel Williams has been there, done that, and has won it in the past. Former world champion Daniel Williams. The 400 meter men's finals are up as well, and Antonio Watson will be carrying the flag along with Sean Bailey. So Watson in lane 7 and Sean Bailey out there in lane number 9. And of course, last but not least will be the 400 meter hurdles women's finals. And in this case, there are 3 Jamaicans in that finals. Genevieve Russell out of lane 3, Anjanette Knight runs out of lane 4, and Rochelle Clayton, the bronze medalist from Doha, runs out of lane 8. So it should be an interesting day. Lots of opportunities there for the Jamaicans to showcase what they have, and indeed we're looking forward to some medals tomorrow, and hopefully that will be a glorious day for Jamaica. So we want to thank you for joining us here on Technique Talk, and make sure you subscribe to our channel, Technique Lab, and click that notification button so that you get notification on all our videos when we post them. And be sure to tell somebody about the channel and share the links so that they can be enlightened as we talk about things that nobody else talks about. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow.